I don't want to say that I think that sex in later life is necessarily essential, because not everybody feels that way, but it can feel that way. And so I think there should be kind of openness to having it on the agenda. Something that you might just want to check up in the same way that you'd check up blood pressure or, skin or whatever. My name's Yvonne, I'm 65, I work full-time as an academic. I live in Melbourne and I have a husband, and here I am. The only people I've ever tried to discuss sexual matters with is a doctor. And it's actually it's hard to raise sexual matters, unless it's part of the general conversation. Sometimes gone into the doctor's surgery and thinking, I must ask about this, and then I sort of self-censor and walk out without asking. What makes me self-censor? Okay, well, it's probably a reluctance, an embarrassment to raise sexual issues. Medical issues are private, but sexual medical issues are even more private, I think, and it can be quite hard to just be open about talking about them. I've got quite a nice doctor, my GP. I've known her for a long time, and I probably should feel more comfortable than I do. I have to make an effort for it to be on the agenda, but sex is never on the agenda. I have to make it on the agenda if I want it to be there, and that just seems, I just feel so reluctant. With a male doctor, so this is quite some time ago, and I was having problems with vaginal dryness. Oh, sorry. I got upset, and he didn't respond in a way which let me explain why I was feeling upset. And so I left without really resolving the issue. I'm surprised that I'm still upset about it. I didn't feel heard. I think the doctor should have explored why I was getting upset and let me explain. But he didn't, and he just kind of took a fairly superficial approach. And then I just didn't feel I could raise it again. Well, I think he should have acknowledged how I was obviously feeling, and then if he'd had more skills in interviewing people, women, he might have said, okay, so just tell me a bit more about that. Why is this upsetting? I happened to see a specialist about vaginal issues, with menopause and all that kind of thing, and just because it's what you're there for, it just kind of feels like, it's perfectly fine to talk about all aspects of sexual functioning and vaginal dryness, and she asked questions. So I said, yes, this is how it is for me, and is it like this? And no, and because it was part of the just general assessment, and that's what I was there for, then it felt quite okay. It was what she was specialised in. She was used to asking the questions. I was prepared to give the answers. It was kind of fine. There's the obvious physical changes that obviously health professionals should be aware of and prepared to talk about as potential issues. But that's just part of their general knowledge. Everybody should know what happens at menopause. Everyone should know, about older men with diabetes, and I don't know whether people recognise that as we grow older, we still are interested in sexual issues, and we may or may not have a relationship where we can express that, but it's certainly intimacy and relationship is something that concerns everybody. It should just be something, and I know it's like partly our fault, you know, that we're, speaking for myself, it can be, I have that internal barrier as well, but health professionals need to be able to recognise that as well. So health professionals need to know about the physical changes that happen with ageing, but they also need to be really aware of the relationship implications of those things, I think. So I think health professionals should be really aware of the impact that changes in sexual functioning could have in the relationship between partners, in the pleasure that a person may feel, in the different ways that sexuality might be expressed. They need to have a bit of imagination, I think, really. You know, what's it like to grow older? What it would be like for me to grow older? And then to recognise that not everyone's the same, right? Everyone has different experiences about both growing older and sexuality and, you know, life in general. We're talking about a whole long period of life that isn't the same, you know, when you're 65 and when you're 95, obviously, but also that people go into later life with a whole lot of different experiences and experiences of relationship that really matter. I think it should be part of the general kind of checkup. So I go to the doctor every 2 years for the checkup, you know, the blood pressure, the breast checks, you know, the pap smear, all that kind of thing every 2 years. And I think it just should be part of that every 2 years, on the table. Let's just talk about all aspects of health. I suppose what I would want to encourage health professionals to do is to make sexuality part of the general assessment that they do, and therefore that they will be asking about it, because otherwise it just stays as one of those things that people are reluctant to bring up.